My name's Joseph Mawdsley. Was called up when I was 18. And they called me up in 1942. I went to Harrington Barracks in Formby, did all my training, and while I was there, the boys that was in the paratroops in Italy had lost a lot of men. So they started to recruit where I was at Harrington Barracks in Formby. And they wanted 25 volunteers. You, and you. We had no option. Just you, and you. We went to Woodhall Spa in Lincolnshire, and we were met by a big sergeant on the station with all his chevrons on. And he said, he put the fright of life in us. He said, forget everything you've done now, you're in the proper army. And you do as I say. Well, it was very frightening at first. Anyway, we went to Woodhall Spa in Lincolnshire, and then we got kitted out there with our berries and everything. Then we went down for extensive training to Salisbury Plains. Bulford Barracks. We did a lot of training there on the gliders. I was in the glider troops. We got a lot of training there in the gliders and night flights and everything. Very frightening. But on the day that we went to Arnhem, unfortunately on the Sunday morning when they went, beautiful Sunday morning, everybody going to church, you could see them. And our plane aborted. He got into fog, and the tow plane couldn't see where he was, the plane couldn't see where they were going, so he said he was going to cast off. He said, if you don't, I will. And if he'd have cast off, the tension of the rope would have come back and smashed the glider, so we had no option. Came down in the field, we had all the people there, kiddies coming, let's have a look at your rifle, your gun. Have you got a gun? Anyway, they soon stopped that, they put security on. And then we thought, well, that's us finished for the war. But no, they had other ideas. They sent us straight back to barracks. And Ribali was 3 o'clock next morning. And then we went to an airfield. I went to an airfield down south called Broadwell. That's where I went from. There was only about 4 gliders went from there. All the others came from different airports. The sky was black with gliders. And we, as I say, we managed to take off. And then we got over Germany. As soon as we got near the place, Germany, near where we were going, Arnhem, you could smell the smoke and the sulphur and the fires. And anyway, we set off from the landing zone. I only did about 5 miles, and then we were pushed into the woods by the aeroplanes were strafing and the mortar bombs. So we had to go into this wood, and we were in there for 2 days. They wouldn't let us out. They knew where we were, and they had us pinned with the mortars. And he sent these screaming bombs down, terrifying. Not very good for you at all. And then on the Wednesday morning, we saw that they came to attack us, and it was Tiger tanks, and all the Germans all over the top of the tanks were running off and shouting, trying to demoralise us. And I was in it. We dug a trench across by the side of the road, and I was with my Corporal Bunting from Liverpool. And I was on the Piat, projecting the anti-tank weapon, which was a very fierce weapon. And you had to prime the bombs, 16-pound bomb. And my corporal said to me, will you go across the road and get the primers? And I knew no more. The next second, they tell me, I don't know, they tell me it was a sniper. He got me in the shoulder and back. So I was taken to the first aid post, and then we went to, what's the name of the place? A hospital the Germans had. I just forget, about 5 miles away. and he was taking the bullet out there and everything. And then, like Joe, we were taken to Germany in cattle trucks, and that was a terrible journey because the typhoons, English typhoon planes, were strafing us all the while. Anyway, eventually, after a couple of days, we landed in Fallingbostel and transferred to the camp and interrogated. And I was wounded, so I went straight to the hospital. Fair, you know, they were fair with me, and I had 2 operations in there, and we had our own RAMC medical there. They looked after us, and they said to me I'd have to have my arm off. So our medical chap said, no, we're going to save it, which they did. But when I came home, I had a lot of trouble. It had an open wound, wouldn't close up, so I was sent to Chester Military Hospital. That was like, but they was very strict there. Anyway, cut a long story short, they did the job and sent me down to Gabowen in Wales, which was a hospital camp. Well, it was a hospital, but we had part of it. At the time of my life there, it was great. I had a chap called Nobby Clark. He came from up north somewhere, and he was a great friend of mine, and I met him in the hospital. And he said to me, we're going to have some fun, Joe, never mind this. He had his leg in plaster. I had my arm in plaster, and away we went. And he found the first pub. We went in there and had a glorious night. And then he said to me, we've got no money, we're running short of money. He said, and we'd had to do occupational therapy for my arm. So he says, I'll tell you what we'll do. 4 of us get on a rug. We'll make a rug. And 4 of us get on each end and get it finished. And then we'll go and flog it. So we finished this rug and he rolled it up under his arm. He was a real character. Rolled it up under his arm and away he went, knocked on the first door. He explained who we were, and she said, come in, this lady. And he was a great bloke. He put this rug in front of her fireplace. Do you know what he said? That's wonderful. It really goes with your house, he said. It's just made for you, he said. So she said, well, how much do I owe you? So I don't know what it was, the price. Anyway, we got the money, went straight. This pub, by the way, there was 2 in Gabowen, and there was a railway went through them. So there was one on each side of the railway, where we picked a particular one. And Nobby went in and he put the money on the counter. He said, when that's done, tell us. And we'll go. And then a few weeks after, I met Nobby was staying there, and I was going back home. I was getting better, like. And he said to me, you know what? He said, we should have a drink before we go. He said, and he got a pair of army boots and sold them. And he got the money and we went into this pub before the train came and had a couple of pints. I never saw him after. But I think that's about my story, really.